Bastards. Today I'm going to talk about a subject that not a lot of people want to talk about, but in my opinion, it's actually kind of necessary. Uh, I'm talking about death. Yeah, because death. Everybody in the prepper community is talking about surviving, and yeah, survival actually. But yeah, the thing is, not everyone survives, and we all think we are the heroes in our own story, but a lot of people die die actually. And yeah, what's come behind it is the biggest question. Well, in a way, you can prepare for death and such things, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Because the reason I want to make a video about this is because it's got me thinking. Actually, I saw these. Sometimes I have the habit to watch one of those sites where they show videos about security cams or cell phones that filmed accidents, murders, and those things, to just to see how people, to learn something about it, to learn how people would react, what were the mistakes they made, how did they cut in these situations. And what I notice in those videos is those people, every person that got severely injured or even got killed in those videos, they they were not prepared. It was just an everyday, like so many in their lives, and it was just that moment that they the light went out. Um, mostly they didn't see it coming, and other times they could have seen it coming, and it keep escalating. But that made me think to make a video about this. Yeah, another thing to think about is, there got some infant of 4 years old or something got killed in Belgium, and it's like half of the nation is in mourn. Everything on social media is about, everybody is feeling sympathy for the parents, for the kid that got killed. Everybody's angry about what happened, and that's just one kid. But at the same times, this news is all over. But at the same times, I read messages about hunger in Afghanistan and Yemen, where millions of children are dying or they are about to die because of a famine and malnourishment, because of war situations and blockades, and nobody is talking about them. So millions of kids against one kid that got a lot of the attention. Yeah, it doesn't seem fair in that way. But I'm drifting off. I'm starting to rant off. Uh, Preparing for death. Yeah, it's why would you prepare for death? First, I want to say preparing for death will make your life better. How is that? If most people only get this feeling like after they almost got into a after an accident or they got severely ill, people start to appreciate life more and they think, oh, what if I died? What would how would things gone for the people I love and such, or what happened to my life work or something? Those are the things you need to prepare for in a certain way. Um, yeah, I'm going to talk about the, how do you say this, when you go through life knowing that everything is already fixed for when you suddenly got hit by a bus or something. In a way, you can enjoy life even more, um, and you are more appreciative of life, and you will be less fearful for possible death, uh, because that's another thing to watch out for. If you how do they say this, if you try to avoid a certain thing, you will meet it at a certain point eventually. So yeah, so what could happen that you just in everyday life could perhaps perish, to say. uh, this is a subject I wrote about in my book, so I'm going to read the all the pieces to not to miss one. So this is a list of the situations that just could happen in everyday life. You could to have an accident, a work accident or a car accident where you go into a coma, that your brain dead, uh, full paralyzed. You could get diseases like Alzheimer or dementia. You could get at a certain age, especially getting a heart attack. You could get a deadly infection from just a little scrap, which could happen in just everyday life. Never mind in a shit hit the fan situation. You could get allergic reaction with anaphylactic shock. You could suffocate during dinner, fall from the stairs, be a victim of murder or kidnapping. You could get lost during an expedition or travel, or you could get a deadly accident at work, or you have a dangerous profession like you're a guard, military, or a police officer, such things, or get uh, you could get into a depression and perhaps in the most severe case doing suicide. Those are just things in everyday life, and so we're not going to talk about what could happen in a defense situation or disaster where things will be 10 times more hard or severe. So those are things in everyday life that you can prepare for in everyday life. So now we get to the point because I'm keep rattling on this. So how can you prepare for death? This is the list that I made for what you can do. First of all, uh, the, make your will, your final will, to a official party like a notaris, but I don't know how you say this in English, to a official instance where you can and leave your will that it will be official, be made in a sealed envelope, or you can or uh, a videotape that you made, and so you can show it to your to a person you trust. This could contain your final will, what should happen to your possessions, your final message to the people you love, and such. So, or taking goodbye, or you have specific wishes for what would happen after you if you die. So that's something you can put in those final wills. So yeah, when you die suddenly, you don't. People will not start to argue about what he would have wanted. What should we do now with this or that? So that's something to think about. Um, you can prepare with insurance. What do I mean by that? Some people like to be sure about their funeral, so they take some sort of funeral insurance. So when they die, they get the funeral costs of the funerals are decked, or you in a certain way you can leave money behind, so your children will not be suffering financial for your own funeral. So you could like leave behind a certain stash of cash that you that only they know about. So that's something you can do. Some preferences about how you want to be buried, cremation, burial at sea, such things, or specific other wishes you could do. So that's something that's perhaps nice to know in an official way to your loved ones that you leave behind. Um, the approval of life-saving procedures. For this is very important because at a certain age, you perhaps could get dementia. So your own words are not in a way legal. For when you get into a coma, you get dementia, or you need some life saving treatment that is very risky. You can in a sort of will make it official or papers to say, I don't want to be saved when I'm in a coma. With in that kind of situation, you can take the plug out or something. So yeah, some people prefer it that way. Other people will say could say from I want to be kept alive for even if there is a small chance, so that none of the family can file in papers to get rid of you in a certain way. I know it's sort of horrible, but these situations happens in real life, but we just don't want to think about them. All right. The next thing is approval for euthanasia in certain conditions. Like I said, when you're brain dead in a coma, and after a certain period of time, it's not that sure that you're going to get through. And even if you get through, your quality of life will be almost non-existence, like when you're paralyzed. In that way, you can and you can give approval for euthanasia when certain standards are met for this type of horrible thing. So yeah, it's hard to think about, but like I said, these things happens. Have a donor card, or you can choose to give your body to science, like universities for to help other people with their studies about anatomy and doctors and such. So in a way, yeah, you can, if when you're clinical dead or brain dead, you can be a donor where your certain parts of your organs can be put on the donor list, and the next day they can be transplanted to another person who is on the list. So in a way, if you do that in front before you die, you could save another person, and you can help other persons to save other persons in that way. Like I said, with the donating to science. So that's another thing to think about actually, and take your time to see if you want this or not. Um, Another thing that a lot of people forget about is digital identities. Um, yeah, we all know, we all heard the stories about somebody died, and a year later on their birthday or something, they get a message from the Facebook or something, from the people, from the person who is dead, and that can be for some people troubling. Even though they know they're dead, the automatic interactions on the social media could leave messages from that person. So I would advise to give your leave a way to retrieve all that data, passwords, usernames, for that a person who you trust, a friend, a good friend, your partner, perhaps your children, they can know, oh, you left your all those passwords and usernames and those social medias you want to get rid of after you die, in a list at a certain place. They can do that, and they can erase it all for you or make it stop, so it won't send automatic messages anymore. And in the worst case scenario, for preventing theft of identity and scams, because not many people think about it, but it happens a lot when a certain person dies, and there are hackers or con men who use the identity of the person who just died, which is not in the official registers yet, and they take loans in their names. They contact their banks or something. They scam them for money in a certain way. Use their social media for dirty practices or something. Those things happens, and then the family will get bills or get sued by in a certain way, and they will need to fix it and prove that it was not the fault of the person who died, because yeah, it will be weird that certainly they got 5 loans in their name just before after they died. So it's a whole bureaucratic nightmare in that way to prove that it was not you. So think about it in that way. Don't get that everything is deleted in a certain way that no people can use it or use their identity. All right. The next thing is ways how you want to be buried in the because of certain rituals, religious ways, funeral rites, those things. Those can differ from person to person. Perhaps a person who used to be Christian and now has become Muslim. Yeah, officially he's a Christian, perhaps, but perhaps he wanted to be buried like a Muslim, and that way. So that's another thing to look at it. And as a last thing, I would say a video message to all the people you love. Just not like a last will, but something to give, to take your final goodbyes, to say what you have learned, give some knowledge or information that they perhaps could need or you want to give them. Yeah, that was the last one. Yeah, you could do that in a way like I did with my gold, with my money, with my written last will, and also my last will on is the same thing on this ship, which is in a waterproof case. That way, when I should die, people know what I want or what I want to do with my possessions. what I want to say to them as last words, and my will and such. So that's all covered in a way, and with that knowledge, I can go through day to day and live better in the knowledge that everything is already taken care of when I get hit by a bus or get smashed by a meteorite or something. So I know it's not something that people really want to talk about, but I find it very important to be ready for this. Um, yeah, I know it's not that much fun of a video, but I hope I made you think about how you want to deal with after you die. How about your children, your partner, how they will get on after it, not only financially but also mentally and psychology, and yeah, how they can look back at you. That's in some way important, equal as important as how you lived in a certain way. So leave a like, leave a reaction if I have forgot something in this list. Perhaps there's something that I can even learn from. Talk about with people on this kind of subject, even though it's perhaps hard. It's very important that people you love know about this. Um, yeah, subscribe and all that good stuff. I hope you learned something. So thank you and see you in the next video. Cheers.